Welcome to episode 63 of Instant Expertise Marketing. Thank you again for listening in. This is the second consecutive episode that addresses demand gen at the top of the funnel. Today, we're going to share our best advice on what to do to drive conversions from the second stage of the funnel, which is consideration. In case you missed it, listen to episode 62 to discover how to connect with prospects at the very top of the funnel in the awareness stage of the customer journey. I'm Yvette Brown, co-founder of XPROMOS. I became an entrepreneur at 23 by starting a promotions agency with my then 29-year-old business partner, Sherry Nomadi.
Well, that makes me Sherry Nomadi and 6 years older than Yvette.
Sure
by
does.
now, you guys know that Yvette and I approach business from opposite ends of the spectrum, and yet we do always come to the same conclusions on how we will help our clients succeed. At this point in their probably still dark funnel, prospects have developed some awareness of you, or at least that there are some solutions to their problems. Prospects in this consideration stage are exploring solutions with greater intent. They might be comparing options, reviewing the features and benefits, maybe exploring the general price points, and possibly even considering whether the hassle to purchase and implement is worth their time and effort.
Yeah, your last point there, Sherry, really nailed it. Okay. Prospects often know, we all know that a solution would improve our life, but the thought of going through the buying process and implementation can be overwhelming. The key is that your benefits have to significantly outweigh the short-term hassle of getting there. And, this is actually why your ICP is so important, because for your ideal customer persona, it's worth the hassle because that pain point is ginormous for them. And that is why we always talk about really focusing on your ideal customer persona, because they're the ones that are most likely to be attracted to your solution.
Absolutely. And for marketers, the big challenge is that much of this consideration is happening without you even knowing about it.
Totally.
There's a Forrester report that showed 74% of the business-to-business buyers were more than halfway down the funnel, more than halfway, before they were even interested in talking to someone in sales.
That's totally right. Today's buyers are doing more and more research on their own, oftentimes and predominantly online. The trends show that when a prospect actually surfaces and wants to do a demo or talk to sales, they're actually already pretty well versed on the product or solution. They know yours is a solution that they want to find out more about. And at that point, they may actually have specific questions about use cases, or they might be ready to discuss purchasing and pricing options.
And brands that make answers and offers easy to find when those dark funnel prospects are doing their searching will get rewarded by just being considered. If you're not answering their questions at the top of the funnel in the consideration stages, then prospects will find solutions that are doing that.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. As you know, the goal is to get a prospect to know, like, and trust you even before they meet you. So the question you need to ask yourself is, what kind of resources can you develop to make that happen, right? One of the places to start is a comparison chart. Okay, Marketing Sherpa, one of their studies indicated that 71% of respondents used some kind of comparison chart when evaluating different products or services, right? So one way you can do this is to create an authentic review of your business versus your biggest competitors. And you can use that to help attract that ideal customer persona and also drive organic traffic. The key here is to make it authentic.
Absolutely. And we're not talking about sales charts where you see that your solutions are all these green check marks, right? And then
all the way down the line.
yeah, and then the competition, there are all these red X's. No. What we're talking about is a really honest review that helps attract the perfect customers for you. And then it just discards all the rest that aren't right for you anyway.
Yeah, and actually there was a great interview that Nathan Lotka did with a B2B SaaS founder, and he actually built his customer base through this specific tactic. This was Raphael Masson of Missive, and he said in this interview that honest reviews versus key competitors, he believed helped their Google rankings, and it attracted the right customers while sending others, he said, rightly so, to their competitors. And this was really a great way to attract their specific customers. And that's what they use specifically to help drive traffic.
Yeah, and along that same vein, case studies are another very effective tool at the consideration stage. Not only do they provide the social proof via real world examples, but they also showcase your expertise in solving specific relatable problems that can help them address their objections and their concerns. Plus, case studies help get prospects emotionally invested in your brand. And this happens when you can tell a compelling story of transformation with customers that are facing the similar challenges.
Yeah, and critical points about those case studies, Sherry. Prospects often look for examples where you have solved a problem that is as absolute close to theirs as possible, right? So what you may want to do with a case study is think about how you can sort and present it in different ways. You might want to look at industry verticals or pain points or business types as an example. Mm-hmm. You know that your solution can work for, say, a small business bakery as well as an enterprise manufacturer, but right. You're going to need to convince your prospects, and the case studies that are very specific is one great way to do it.
That's right, Yvette. That is just so on point. And when you think about it, even an agency like ours that's been around for almost 35 years now, prospective clients still question whether our suggested solutions are going to work for them. So we know that we have to guide them through the why before they're going to buy, right?
Oh my God, that is so true. And there are many ways that you can do that convincingly, but that's totally a topic for another day. We'll stay on track, right?
Yep.
So next, we're just going to move to the next type of tool that you can use at the consideration stage. It's actually one of my favorites. It's quizzes and assessments. Mm-hmm. First of all, I love them because you typically can capture contact information, which gets the prospect out of the dark funnel and into your nurture so you can help identify and move them along. Mm-hmm. But that's not the only reason I like them. It is also great because a really good quiz or assessment is actually helpful, it's entertaining, and it helps personalize a prospect's brand engagement, right? So, right. Of course, not surprisingly, there's many studies from industry experts like Marketing Profs and Aberdeen Group, to name a couple, that confirm that interactive assessments and quizzes have been shown to increase leads and conversions. So there's proof to back it up, but they really are cool, right?
Yeah, they are. Absolutely. And I think we're involved in a couple of those right now.
We actually are.
So when you provide honest and helpful information, a prospect is more likely to begin to trust your brand while becoming more open to further engagement with you. So think about how a quiz or an assessment as an interactive way that could answer questions the prospect has when they are in that consideration phase. And really, honestly, the creative possibilities are just endless.
Absolutely. And it's a really great exercise because when you step back and think about how you like what the best parts are about your product and service and what it does for an ICP, you can almost back into how you may want to approach this assessment or quiz. So, of course, we want to give you a little bit more to work with. So we've actually gathered a list of 3 kinds of assessments that have proven successful at the consideration stage. We actually have even more, but we wanted to keep it tight today. You can check those additional ones out inside the blog at xpromos.com. So the first kind of quiz is an ROI calculator. These are, very common, and it's basically where a potential customer can get an idea of what to expect from a solution by sharing a few data points about their business, right? So they tell you a little bit about their business. It spits out an estimated return on investment, and that helps a prospect assess whether or not your solutions, what the value of your solution is, while allowing you to capture a little bit of info and intel, which can help you develop those subsequent nurture streams for that prospect.
And risk assessments are another valuable kind of tool.
Yep.
They help potential customers identify potential risk and vulnerabilities in their business and can provide recommendations for mitigation. They're an excellent choice for, say, something like a cybersecurity company to help assess a business's level of risk for a cyber attack, right?
Yeah, that's a great example. And, another one in the quizzes and assessments that's really good in the B2B space is an industry benchmarking assessment. Mm-hmm. These are basically evaluations where you can help potential customers compare their business performance to others in the industry. You can look at leaders and laggards and things like that. It really helps to show your industry expertise in specific categories. And that's one of the great kind of side benefits of that type of an assessment.
And we would be remiss not to mention 2 tried and true types of tools that continue to perform very well for the B2B marketers at the consideration stage. And they are webinars and third-party analyst reports.
And before you go rolling your eyes about, oh my God, webinars, are you kidding me, right? According to Demand Gen report, 67%, 2/3 of B2B buyers engaged in a webinar just last year. And 40% of respondents in this Demand Gen report said webinars is their most valuable content source. So the point with this is that if your webinar is not leading to business, don't ditch the webinar. It might be time to level up your presentation. And if you don't have a webinar, this might be the time to add that to your list and make that a priority.
That's right. And additionally, the third-party analyst reports are a very critical piece of the consideration puzzle.
Yeah.
Half the buyers in a Trust Radius report said that they rely on analyst reports to select and evaluate vendors, and roughly 40% said analyst reports are more credible than vendor-produced content.
Yeah, and that's really a critical point. So, again, much like we talked about in the last episode, you can't rely on a single source of truth or one piece of content or one approach that's going to get all your leads. You really have to, because everybody's journey is different, you need to be creating different types of offers and different types of content to appeal to a broader base, especially when they're out there in the dark funnel. So what we talked about today, to recap real quick, is we talked about comparison charts. We talked about case studies. We've discussed interactive quizzes and assessments, webinars, and third-party analyst reports. These are all important to have as consideration resources in that demand gen top of the funnel part.
But wait, there's a little more.
There always is.
That's right. You can also generate interest and consideration by bolting on engagement activities to your existing marketing activities, like, say, trade shows, conferences, and even sponsorship events.
Yeah, that's really true. Like you should be thinking about consideration as kind of a leveled up version of your awareness activities. And honestly, you don't have to spend millions to drive revenue. And if you don't take advantage of those awareness activities, you're probably missing the boat and leaving some opportunities on the table.
That's right. And there is an example of this adult soccer tournament that we actually created for a regional brand called Dunn Edwards Paint. And they knew of our sponsorship work with Glidden and Makita, but they didn't have the budget for an 8-figure sponsorship level deal. But they did want to be a paint brand of choice amongst the Hispanic contractors in the San Diego market. So what we did was we worked with a local Hispanic adult soccer league to create their own tournament, complete with prizes, branded jerseys, lots of other swag for the participants. And as the title sponsor, Dunn Edwards could invite their best prospective customers and crews to play for free in the weekend tournament. This tournament, called Copa Dunn Edwards, surpassed expectations, even delivering a Spanish language TV feature while over-delivering on converting prospects to the Dunn Edwards brand.
And Sherry, it's a really great point. It's a program I'm really proud of because, of course, we did, if I may say so, some amazing work for both Makita Power Tools as well as Glidden Paint with their sponsorship deals, and really optimizes those activities. Because of that success in that category, Dunn Edwards knew because they saw their contractors at the end of the 3 o'clock, they got off shift. Everybody was out playing soccer. They knew it was a big deal for them, but they couldn't afford a sponsorship. So we found a way for them to tap into that passion and not just have like a little stand at a little, event that they overpaid for. We, did the work, we had the connections, we built a tournament for them, and it was really something that they could own and really do exactly what they wanted to do on a budget that was, significantly less than 8 figures, to say the least. So, be mindful of where your ICP is, what they're doing, and think about how you can connect with them in a way that you can own. And that's really kind of what we did with that. So that's a really great example. And, kind of keeping with that B2B theme, I kind of want to talk a little bit more about the Makita Experience More Tour. As you guys know, if you've been listening for a while, we convinced Makita to sponsor soccer so that they could connect with the Hispanic contractors. At the time, they were already sponsoring motocross and supercross. So we wanted to help them maximize their presence at these events that they were now invited to because they were sponsoring them, including the soccer events. So we built a 53-foot truck that would travel to these different events. We had, soccer on one weekend and then motocross the following. Yep. But, unlike their competitors, some of which had done little trucks, at this time that weren't very good, we reimagined Makita's tools to be shown and organized by use, right? And the company didn't really see their tools that way, but of course, as an outsider, we did. So inside the truck, we actually created these miniature scenes of framing and finishing work and concrete work and roofing and things like this. And these little mini, construction scenes helped attract contractors to the truck. And because it showcased these different areas of trade, and they could help get a feel for the breadth of tools that Makita provided that were specific to that trade. Because honestly, Makita produces over 400 tools and they're all super amazing, but you only need this handful if you're in a specific trade. So this was a really great way to focus it from the perspective of the customer, not from the perspective of the manufacturer. And this really, like I said, helps showcase these solutions specifically to an industry vertical, which is the goal in the consideration phase, which is why we consider this kind of a consideration program.
And that truck proved to be so popular that Makita filled its travel schedule by offering visits to local distributor locations. But as they say, you've got to pay to play. They only got the truck if they made a specific dollar commitment to Makita. And in the end, these events drove incremental revenue for Makita and the distributors because they gathered a crowd of contractors to visit the interactive truck display, and sales happened.
Yeah, and this actually, the truck in and of itself became a revenue generator. It paid for itself and brought additional money in. And I firmly believe that had we not built it in the way we did with, gathering contractors in and making it so useful, it probably wouldn't have worked like that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So to wrap up, again, during this consideration stage, your prospects are already aware of a problem or a need that they have, right? They already know that they've got something going on. That was what happened in the awareness stage. Okay. They're now actively researching and evaluating potential solutions and vendors that can address those issues. Mm-hmm. So we call it the, more aggressive browsing, if you will, right? So you need to make sure that your content and your offers at this stage educate your prospects, engage them, help them overcome the objections, showcase your expertise, and finally, the call to actions, the offers, need to direct them to the trial stage because you're sharing all this information. Oh yeah, we're great, da da da. You got to guide them. You got to guide them to what's next, right? And we know that the next stage is trial.
Right. So if you're asking yourself, well, why should I invest in the consideration stage? And we haven't convinced you of that yet. Let's just do a little summary on that. The reason is because really effectively engaging potential customers during that consideration stage, even if you can't track them, it will increase the likelihood of conversion in the decision stage because you've already begun to position your brand as the trusted resource and the best solution.
Yeah, and that's a great recap, Sherry. That's exactly what it is. It's not a stage to be overlooked.
Oh.
So that's it for us today. Thank you again for listening in. Remember to go back and listen to that last episode on awareness if you missed it.
Plus, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to get alerted on our new content and join our newsletter for even more in-depth coverage. You'll find the link in the show notes.